I think that transgender people should be able to use any bathroom they want to because they're people too. And I know, like, people say, oh, they're not human or, like, it's unnatural or something, but I don't think it's their place to decide.
Well, I think at this point our society is definitely moving in a certain direction, and it's just time to get on board with that and work towards accommodating everyone.
People throughout time have fought for equal rights, from slavery and black people's rights to vote and to have a fair trial, to women's suffrage and equal access to resources. The U.S. has been on the front lines of many civil rights movements for centuries. And now, another problem has arisen to the forefront of everyone's minds: LGBT rights. We may have legalized same-sex marriage and have stopped discrimination against gay people in many states, but there is a lot of work left to be done, including securing the safety of those in the LGBT community as well as their rights. The biggest issue now on the table is trans people and their right to use public bathrooms that align with their gender identity.
Well, I think it is a new civil rights movement, and it's not particularly new. People have been gay since they've been people.
Well, it's certainly not new, and a lot of people will say, like, within the last 5 years, just a whole bunch of LGBT people have been coming out of the woods, and no, we've existed forever. It's just, right now, it's at the point where we're not always actively being killed for expressing that, so we're expressing it more vocally.
Yet not all people view it this way. Some see being trans as a choice, and others don't believe transgender people are really people. Through these incorrect assumptions, there are those people who do not believe that the LGBT movement is a civil rights movement, or believe that this civil rights movement is pushing the boundaries of our government more than it should. Which is contradictory, as trans people have used the bathroom they feel most comfortable in for decades without laws preventing them. In 1965, the country's first gender identity clinic opened at Johns Hopkins University, and a year later, the first reassignment surgery was completed in the US, according to JHU. Fights based upon sex have already taken place in the courts. A school's Title IX obligation to ensure non-discrimination on the basis of sex requires schools to provide transgender students equal access to educational programs and activities, even in circumstances in which other students, parents, or community members raise objections or concerns. The Obama administration, headed by the Departments of Justice and Education, have extended to all publicly funded schools, stating that this includes transgender students and funding will be cut if Title IX is not followed with transgender students.
I think it is part of our obligation as a society to make sure that everybody is treated fairly and our kids are all loved and that they're protected and that their dignity is affirmed.
We see how not only is the transgender rights a current civil rights movement, but how the law has protected these people for many decades already. The real question is why we have allowed physical attacks on our own people. The Orlando shooting that killed 50. The 70% of trans people being verbally abused, and the over 10% of trans people being physically abused. The staggering 41% of trans people who have attempted suicide. America is not protecting its own people when laws are passed that discriminate against anybody.
So I think it's way past time that we start interacting with others and making this a conversation, because this is getting real boring. Like, we need to be nice to each other. This is taking too long, and it's important that we find ways to communicate and be happy and coexist, because that is how we will be successful in continuing the human race. Yeah. That's what I think.
Many people bring up the argument that trans people in bathrooms will make bathrooms less safe for young children, yet placing trans men who have gone through the full process of surgery back into women's bathrooms negates the point of safety from predators. There has been no proof that allowing trans people into the bathroom of their choice raises risk or rates of assault. Any person can easily walk into any bathroom and rape someone, as harsh as that sounds, even with the social boundaries in place, because rapists don't follow social boundaries. They're rapists. Still, there are solutions. There are ways that society can fix the problems that have arisen. The ultimate end goal is to move to all unisex bathrooms, whether you are trans or not. This allows for non-binary people to have a safe place to use the restroom without dealing with dysphoria, and also provides a larger amount of people in a bathroom at any given time, actually reducing the possibility for rape rather than raising it, as although we like to believe that we can monitor who goes into what bathroom, that tends to not be the case. And although it would be pricey to remove the urinals and to replace those with stalled bathrooms, the lower maintenance cost would make up for it in a much longer term. Many children in San Francisco are excited for the unisex bathrooms already going into place. One first grader says, "I think it's nice because then people don't have to be separated just to go into bathrooms. It's just easier to go to the bathroom if there's just a bathroom." There is a lot of stigma around unisex bathrooms, but when people open their mind beyond the idea that someone of the opposite sex will be peeing in a stall next to you, the solution doesn't sound that bad. After all, we use unisex bathrooms almost every day in our own homes.
I think that anyone should be allowed to pee where it makes them most comfortable. That's it. Everyone should be able to pee. I think it's, again, just a matter of wanting to pee where you're comfortable, and I think unisex would actually be the most beneficial, so that non-binary people like myself can pee where they feel comfortable.
Well, considering that I am in the LGBT community, I think it's good that we're making progress and that it still needs to continue, but it does make sense that it's the new civil rights movement. I mean, it's kind of what's happening right now, and it's really good. I think we're making progress. I mean, we're still kind of stuck on some things, but we're making a lot of progress.
We need to be able to accept trans people in a community, not just so that way we gain equality, but so that way our community comes together more as a whole. A huge step in that is allowing trans people to use the bathrooms of their choice. We need to be able to accept people in our community for us to move together as a whole, and this is the new civil rights movement, and accepting this will bring us to a better future. Why should we have a fight about where somebody goes to the bathroom? It's just me.
Because, let's face it, that's what's the right thing to do. And I don't think it's as dangerous as people are making it out to be. I think that's a natural reaction, but at the same time, I think that if we just give it a shot, we can adjust pretty quickly and realize that it's just people going to the bathroom. That's it.